Good morning, everybody. Thomas Fleming here. Well, I'm going to wait for it to warm up a little bit before I really get into my video, but I just want to get it started. It's about 8:15 in the morning, and I managed to get my other video up there after 3 tries yesterday for this morning, so we're making progress, but God knows what I'm doing, and He helps me to get it done. Anyhow, it's cold, real cold this morning. It's about 28 right now. So I'm not going to be in a hurry to go sit down someplace and freeze. You can see the sun on me. It's just above the trees. It needs to get a little bit higher to get the rest of the ground warmed up. But we've been talking about faith. When we talk about things that we're doing, works, and that, it's sort of like what James talks about. If you're a Christian, you're going to heaven, but there should be some signs. Faith without works is dead. Works without faith is dead. Squirrels all over the place here foraging. I saw some deer around the corner. Can't get them on the camera. They're camera shy. So, what is the most important thing? Well, we're going to see this in our study, and somebody posted the verse a couple days ago. Told them, you're cutting into my lesson plan. They tried to test Jesus all the time. Every chance they could, whenever he was there in the synagogue or in public, they would try to ask him a question. Oh, and where am I? I'm right here where the water is, and the inlet to go out to the swamp area is right there behind me. And we have these signs here. Do not feed the gators. A fed gator is a dead gator, because if you feed them, they're going to start coming in for that all the time. All right, so we're going to look at when they asked Jesus, what's the most important thing you can do? And we'll get to that. You need to be able to prove you're a Christian. It's not something that it's set up for us to do. It's not a scorecard per se. But we've got the verse that says they're going to know we're Christians by our love. By our love. Put that to song. I don't have my selfie stick. I'm holding my camera because my selfie stick's over in my car on the other side of the pond here, and I don't feel like going and getting it. So that's why I keep cutting my head off. I'll get settled here in a bit while I'm paying attention. I'm going to go sit down. We're going to do a little bit of a study. I've got some verses on this. Of course, everybody should know the infamous verse, the famous verse about love, 1 Corinthians 13. There's a bunch of stuff in that we're going to look at, not just the love part. It talks about tongues. If you're not edifying the body in whatever your gift, you're not helping anybody. So maybe you can speak in tongues, but if you don't have an interpreter, we'll get to it when I sit down for the study, but it's a waste of time, waste of everybody's time. God wants us to be able to understand. We're having a hard enough time understanding prophecy. And let's see, where do I have the sun the best? If I stare this way, I'm looking right at it because it's right at the horizon above the trees a little bit. Okay. So we're going to get to this. I'm up at the visitor center because they're coming out to fix my car. And this is the only place that has cell signal, so if he tries to call me, and it's not cell signal per se, it's Wi-Fi signal. when he comes out to call me, I got to be here. So it's somewhere between now and 10 o'clock. I don't know how long that's going to be. They gave me a business card from somebody that had a roadside service here, and it's so nice to deal with customers that are out to help you any way they can. Or owners, store owners. I'm the customer. The one I tried to deal with last week, and you got to forgive him. He was probably so swamped he hadn't have time to think, and I couldn't get him to answer any simple questions like, "Can you get me a starter? Can you fix this today?" Couldn't get anything out of him, so I just gave up and drove down here. But this guy's sending out a truck with a starter. We already ordered it yesterday for delivery this morning, and he's about 50 minutes away, I guess, where their town is. I guess he's in Jasper. Okay, I'm just rambling on as I'm walking around here taking in the sights. You want to hear a study, so let me get to that. Be with you in a little bit. Okay, let's continue on with our Bible study. I am actually warming up enough that I can take off my hat and gloves, and I think we're going to get to be 65 today. My car is running, thanks to one of our good subscribers here. And I don't like to give people's names out because I don't think it's good to promote people to boost their ego. Helping God is something that doesn't need to be promoted. But I am very grateful, yes, because it is running. It cost pretty close to what he had estimated. The cost was a little bit more only because they had to drive so far. There's no place around here to get a mechanic. You had to come from Florida, 55 miles one way. Okay. Our last couple of videos have been on faith. But they're not the most important thing. They're the most important thing to get yourself connected to God, yes. But the most important thing to living, to being a human being on this planet, is really love. That's what God is. So we're going to do a quick study on that. I got a number of verses, so we're going to try to jump around with them. But the greatest chapter on love is 1 Corinthians 13. So I'll start reading here. The camp is kind of noisy. I've been hiding out up there at the visitor center so long I thought I'd do something right from camp. I'm at the table across from where I'm at because I need to get a little bit of light on me. My camp's in the shade. Okay, 1 Corinthians 13. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become a sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. We all know people like that. You know they're coming. You can hear them. And they're not bringing love. They're bringing themselves and noise to announce it. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, that's the key, we just talked about faith, though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, but I have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor and give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. And then it kind of describes a little bit about it. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. You got that kind of love? It says in 8, we can go on, but I'm just going to stop here, but it says love never fails. Now, the Greek language has a number of words for love, and so we got to make sure that we are understanding that it's got to be the agape love, the love that comes from God, not the physical love, not the love of your dog or whatever. It's got to be the one that's the commitment love, the love that's going to have to come from God. Remember the gifts of God, love, joy, peace. It's got to be a gift of God to be able to be the right kind. Okay, now I'm going to turn to, I got so many tabs here, I got to figure out which one is the one that I want. We're going to go to Mark 12:28. Okay, then one of the scribes came, and having heard them reasoning together, and perceiving that he had answered them well, asked him, which is the first commandment of all? So that's one of the scribes is wanting to know that. They're trying to trick him and trap him, and you can't do that with God. He knows everything, but they don't know really who he is yet. They're not really sure, and they never figure it out. So Jesus answered them and says, the first of all the commandments is, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, and the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord our God with all your heart and with all your soul and all your mind and with all your strength. Is there anything more you can include in that? That's everything. That's how you have to love God. And this is the first commandment. The second is like the first. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. So those are the first two commandments, and they both encompass love. Now, who's your neighbor? Now, that's debatable. But as a minimum, your neighbor will be other Christians and Jews that he's speaking to here. God's chosen. Now, we're also to love our enemies. We'll get to that. So, you can't beat this type of love. And the only way you're going to come up with it is to have a good connection to God. That's the only way you're going to come up with it. Okay, now I'm going to turn to John 13:34-35. A new commandment I give, and this is Jesus speaking again, new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this we will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. That's a pretty determining one, you know. They know we are Christians by our love. I mentioned that in the first part. You've got to basically give all, every bit. If you're holding back, then you're not giving God's love. And that's what we're supposed to give. And now I'm going to turn to Luke 10:25. And behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tested him, saying, Teacher, what should I do to inherit eternal life? Well, we know what he's going to do to inherit eternal life, but this is before he sacrificed himself, speaking to a lawyer which understood the Jewish law. And he said to him, what is it written in the law? What is it you're reading from it? So he answered him and said, you shall love the Lord your God, and with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength and all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. That's what we just heard. And he said to them, you have answered rightly. Do this and you will live. We can't do that perfectly. That's the problem. That's why he had to die for us. But dying for us, then we get to be forgiven so we can keep doing this. This is a pretty big commitment. This isn't something you can just deal with. You know, that's why marriages are failing, because they're supposed to be based around a joint love, and they're not. They're based around individual personalities that don't want to commit unless there's something they can gain from it for that individual. Love doesn't put conditions on, and that's why marriages don't work. You look at a marriage from an earthly point of view, they're over before they get started. You look at it from a godly point of view, and you got a lot of work. Okay, I'm going to go to Matthew 5:43. More people walking in the camp. You have heard that it is said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. You know, that's hard to do. We're talking about love in general being hard to do, but now you got to apply that love to your enemy. Love your enemies, bless those who curse you, and do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of the Father in heaven. You know, this isn't easy. And the good news is you're not asked to do it on your own. The world tries and fails miserably. The only way you can love this way is with the help of God. I'm going to go back to John one more time. I forgot to mark this one. 15. John 15, 9 through 17. Okay. As the Father loved me, I also have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy may be full. There are benefits to following his example. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no man than to lay down his life for his friends. And you are my friends if you do whatever I command you. No longer do I call you servants. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all things that I heard from my Father I have made known to you. We have a special relationship with God through Jesus, more so than any earthly condition we can possibly imagine. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that fruit should remain, that wherever you ask in the Father's name, that he may give you these things I command you, that you love one another. We can't do this on our own. It is impossible. And to think that we can is foolish. The world thinks that it can and doesn't need God. But that is not how it works. I was looking for another verse over here, but I don't want to keep you here while I'm trying to turn the pages. I can't find it, but the bottom line is, what you need to focus on is God all the time. Because you can't love this way. You can't love your spouse this way. Only God can. So you have to rely on, you have to pray all the time that God gives you this gift, this love. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, temperance. The gifts that are in Galatians, those are what you want. And the only way you're going to get them is to stay sin-free. Now, as a human being, that's impossible. That's why you have to take your sins to Jesus every day. Ask for forgiveness. They're already forgiven, but you got to bring them up. Let them know that you know he died for you. And as you hand these sins off to him, he will give you the ability to be like him on earth. We're not gods. We never will be. Some religions teach it. If you follow all the rules, you become little gods. No. We are friends of God. And that we can be the rest of our lives. But we have to have faith. And that comes from God too. See, all your resources come from one place. You don't have to go to 10 shopping centers to find what you need. You simply just need to go to God. All right. Until we meet in the clouds. God bless. Yeah, there's the problem. Being out here in the middle of nowhere. Look at that. Bench has got ice on it. I was going to sit down and work on my video, but not with this. We're going to have to wait a couple hours for it to warm up.